Hello, welcome to this week's edition of Health Talking Thursday. My name is Mohammed Sharif, sitting in for Dennis Ja. In today's edition, we will be discussing the unending court battles with the CPP. We know the political opposition is embroiled in a lot of legal issues. The legal turmoil and the collective opposition is really overwhelming. Lincoln said, if you want to test a man, give him power. But it seems like right now, these guys, they haven't gotten power, and they are self destroying. This whole thing is destroying the collective opposition. So we're going to be looking at the court battles in the CPP. We will also discuss Mr. Yekeh Koluba's, Representative Yekeh Koluba's recent press conference. It was a rambling press conference. It was a scathing attack, a blistering attack on the president of the Republic of Liberia. We will also discuss the sanctions, targeted sanctions against some Liberian officials, most notably Prince Johnson, who was the object of a sanction by the United States government. So all of these and many more will be discussed today by this great panel. I have with me from the city of Atlanta, Georgia, uh, Mrs. Cole Fambule. Mrs. Fambule is my colleague on Tough Talking Thursday. She is a member of the Unity Party. Mrs. Fambule is an excellent analyst on focus on Liberia. Tough Talking Thursday. Mrs. Fambula, welcome to Tough Talking Thursday.
It's always my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Uh, I also have with me to go through these analyses Jerome Gaiman. Mr. Gaiman is a big supporter of President George Weah and his CDC led government. Uh, Mr. Gaiman joins us from the Sunshine State of Florida. Mr. Gaiman, welcome to Tough Talking Thursday.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you on your August and very popular Tough Talking Thursday.
Thank you. So, how you all doing? How you all doing today?
So far, so good from the Sunshine State, and hopefully someday I would love to host you and Kawu down here so you can host your Tough Talking Thursday from the Sunshine State.
Oh, listen, I would love that. I would love that. So, as I discussed at the top of the show, my name is Mohammed Sharif, sitting in for Dennis Ja. Today, we're going to discuss the problems, some of the problems within the CPP. The CPP is embroiled in a lot of legal issues recently, just from the month of January up to now, from early January to now. There are three major court cases involving members of the CPP, namely Benoni Ure versus Alexander Cummins, Musa Ability versus Darius Dillon, and you have on the other hand, you also have Musa Ability, who has also gone to the commission to level a complaint to the Elections Commission. That is not yet a legal that's not yet a court case, but he has gone to the commission to file a complaint. So, what is going on with the CPP? So, Carl, I guess I want to go to you first to take us through some of the things that are going on. Why is this happening now? What can we understand from what is going on?
You're asking why the CPP is involved in a lot of legal battles?
right. Why is this, just to lay the groundwork for us? Why is this happening instead of, campaigning, which they should be really doing now because 2023 is around the corner. So why are they involved in all these court battles instead of campaigning for the presidency or, campaigning for Congress and so on and so forth?
Well, I mean, I don't think that this is campaign season. Nobody should be campaigning. The president's campaigning. I don't think that's legal. Um, and I think what the opposition should be doing is pressuring government to do the right thing and fielding candidates for the presidency and fielding candidates for vacant elected positions. The opposition should be working with existing opposition elected officials to make sure that the agenda of the opposition is being achieved through, the correct constitutional process. I don't see that happening. It could be happening behind closed doors. But what I do see happening is, public, seems to be a public tussle for power, which is being expressed through legal, accusations of corruption, of fraud, and these things are going to court. You know, citizens have a right to sue each other. I don't think it's productive for the opposition to do so, but citizens have a right to sue each other. So sorry, my daughters. I apologize. So, I would really, I'm torn a little bit because I don't want to tell people that they don't have a right to take things to court or take their grievances to court. Of course you do. But, when you have a disunited opposition and the citizens are very unhappy, they see they see nothing to cling to. They see no alternative to their dire situation. And it seems to me all of this back and forth is benefiting this very unfortunate administration that is ruling the country. People are so broken and so torn that now they're clinging so desperately to Weah, because I think Liberian citizens are coming to the frightening realization that maybe they'll be stuck with him for another 6 years after this. So it's unfortunate. And if I was a conspiracy theorist, which I'm not, but there's a lot of talk of maybe these people, maybe Weah is the one has his hand behind all of this stuff, and he's encouraging all kinds of chaos and opposition, which he'd be foolish if he wasn't. That's actually what he should be doing. He should be causing bickering and confusion in the opposition. And the opposition should be smart enough to not fall for it. So anyway, that's just my opinion.
Okay, so Mr. Gaiman, so this is to George Weah's benefits, isn't it? I mean, the opposition is, involved in legal battles, and as Carl mentioned, he will be foolish if he doesn't, participate in this in some way, shape, or form, isn't it?
Oh no. To be very frank with you, this is a man who have been castigated as the least of the least when it comes to intelligentsia, when it comes to thinking, when it comes to politics. He knows nothing. So how could he, a man who knows nothing, get into the middle of all these Harvard, Yale, Cornell, Morehouse educated guys? In fact, USC, University of Southern California, URI. How can a man from Weah that never went to school, never graduated, cannot comprehend? How can he out-manipulate the rest of these brilliant people?
And he got 3 doctors.
Are you serious? That's what I was going to say. Are you serious? He's still
you understand the man was uneducated. Dr. Weah?
Excuse me.
What are you talking about, Jerome? I'm sorry. I just want to understand.
The opposition is saying that the title was conferred. It wasn't earned. He is not befitting of being a high school graduate. All that we agree.
Let me ask you this. So, do you believe that George Weah has no understanding of what is going on? Is that what you're saying now?
But listen to this. We knew this all along that President Weah was the smartest guy in Liberia. You
The
guys were
smartest
in
guy in Liberia.
you guys were in denial. And here is a man who came from nowhere. And for you to say, and I'm going to quote the former president of the United States, Bill Clinton. He says, when you're walking down a country road and you see the turtle on a pole, he said, knowing very well that turtle cannot climb, you better be cognizant of the fact that he got there. Somebody put it there. He didn't just get there by himself, all by himself. So what I'm saying here is President Weah did not just become president all by himself. He got to this point by a collective effort. The intelligence that he has to bring people together, to bring the know-how, to bring the will, to leave the vindictiveness aside, to bring people together. There were people in the CDC that were mad with President Weah for keeping most of or some of our brothers and sisters from the Unity Party. And he told them, this is not a government of CDC. This is a government of Liberia. Some of these people were civil servants. Some of these folks were tenured professors, tenured workers. Some of these people are career technocrats. So we cannot lay everybody off. So this is a man that you guys
are did lay everybody off.
And now, after they have denigrated him all these years, now they have said he's the cause of for him making us to fight among ourselves. I think after you're giving us too much credit than we deserve.
So just so I'm clear on it, so you're saying that the government of Liberia, George Weah and his operatives are in no way involved with all of what's going on in the opposition?
Actually, we are the victim. We are the victim of what's going on because all the intelligent guys and girls coming together, Liberia has hoped for an alternative that will actually give a clear contrast as to where we are and where we need to be. But as it stands, this collaboration that came together did not come together because of the love of our country. They came together for one purpose. That was the hate of George Weah. Like Mr. Ure used to say, we want our country back. Those of us who are the entitled, the intelligentsia, we want our country back. A guy from Gibraltar, some guy from West Point is not allowed, not supposed to lead us. So here we are. How do you get your country back? They were able to coordinate. They were able to conjure themselves into a coalition, or hasty coalition, I must add, that listen, these guys don't belong here. Let's kick them out of here. And we knew that they did not do this for the love of Liberia. It was for the hate of George Weah.
Thank you. So, Carl, where do you have any response?
I absolutely do. You know, Mr. Gaiman, with all due respect, we have not died and we were not born in 2021. You know, the witnesses to the tyranny of the CDC government are still alive. They fired everyone in government down to the HR directors. Put HR directors in charge of everyone in the country. It was one of the first things President Weah did when he took over. Fired everyone except 3 crew ministers. Mary Bro, who is cabinet level, she's not a minister, she's a director general, but her position is a cabinet level position. He retained Madam Bro, who is of the same ethnic group. He retained Sam Lu at Transport Ministry, who's also crew. And he, of course, retained my good friend Len Muji Nangbe, and former boss, at the Information Ministry at the time, who was also crew. Everyone else was fired. Everyone else was fired, down to people that the government sent to school for technical purposes. Malba Yoko was a tech. I was at Maritime when Malba was sent to school, came back, top of his class, one of the most brilliant young people the country has produced in recent times, trained specifically for a very specific, narrow purpose at Maritime. He was fired because he supported Joseph Boycott. And that's what he was told. And, you know, the list goes on. So, you know, with all due respect, saying that he retained Unity Party people or retained opposition to the CPP government is completely false. Seditians were given jobs to do things like, you know, coronavirus awareness. We saw what happened. You know, it's not a merit-based society. We're not hiring people because of their qualifications. We're hiring people because of their relationships. That's not how you run a country. It is how you run a country in the ground, and you create animosity and you create incompetence and all kinds of things. Monrovia is filthy. It's filthy. You know, under normal circumstances, if it was a merit-based society, and even if you give a young person an opportunity to do something and they failed this miserably, you would say, you know what, you're dismissed. We're going to bring someone else in who can do it. It has been 3 years, complete dismal failure in many of the government institutions. None of these people have been changed because they've been put there because of their proximity to power and their friendship with the president. You don't run a government in that manner. The other thing that I'd like to address is this idea that Weah is not, you know, educated and he's not intelligent. I mean, or that people hate Weah. First of all, I do not hate George Weah. I'm one of Weah's biggest fans. I mean, I've been a George Weah fan since I was a child. This is a soccer icon. There's probably not a child in Africa that doesn't, you know, especially not even a child, probably an adult in Africa that's not a
Right.
George Weah fan. You know, as far as the soccer player. So there's no hatred there. You talk about Yuri talking about taking back our country. The same Yuri, the same Alex Cummings, the same Prince Johnson, you know, the late great Charles Walker Brumskin. These people sat in a coalition, you know, went to the Ganta Declaration and held up each other's hands. So your characterization of these people saying that they did not want Weah to be president because he's from Gibraltar or they didn't want to work with Weah is not correct. Clearly, I mean, like I said, we have not died. We saw what happened. I mean, I can show you a photo of Mr. Yuri holding George Weah's hand.
Mm.
There's no hatred between these people. I think what happened is his immediate, you know, takeover and his subsequent um, poor decisions have frustrated people, and people are wanting to say, you know what, we made a mistake. We made a mistake, and we need to correct it. And they're going to do so, you know, through the ballot box, and that's it. And if the citizens, and the other thing of you saying that Weah didn't become president by himself, you know, the citizens made George Weah president. The citizens made Ellen Johnson Sirleaf president. And in order for Weah to have won that election, some of the same people who voted for President Sirleaf had to vote for Weah. So the people that we like to demonize are the same people that are going to either vote or not vote. It has to be a majority of the voters have to select you. So we shouldn't be demonizing any segment of the population. As far as Weah's intelligence goes, I've never given the president an IQ test. What I will say is his judgment, which is different from intelligence, his judgment has been disappointing, very disappointing. His public conduct has been disappointing. And the decisions he's made in leadership, I don't think have been in the best interest of the country. I think they've been in the best interest of himself and CBC and his friends. And that's my disappointment. So I just wanted to clarify those things. And Mr. Gamer, you're entitled to your opinion, but not your own facts.
Thank
I
you.
mean, I can show you piles of evidence, especially about the dismissal of everyone in government when he took over, down to the HR managers. It's unprecedented. The last time that happened was when, you know, there was a coup, a violent, bloody coup, and it killed everybody. That's the last time that happened in the history of this country. You know, so you don't take over in a democracy and conduct yourself, you know, like you're a military junta and like you're, you know, you're expelling your enemies. This was not a revolution. It was a democratic election. Very unfortunate.
Well,
Yeah, and so and one of the things, and I'll come right to you, Jerome. So I mean, this is the reason why, and like you said, exactly right, Cole. This is the reason why a lot of Liberians are disappointed in George Weah. The mediocrity, the vindictiveness in this man is just overwhelming. I mean, and the ineptitude, the sheer ineptitude, the proclivity not to develop, right? In the face of all of what's going on, there has been no cabinet reshuffle. You know, the president of Malawi, who was just elected uh, less than 6 months ago, fired his cabinet, his entire cabinet, for allegation of corruption. Now, in this administration, how many times we've heard over and over and again people stealing money, people lying, people doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. The president doing all of these things. The first lady has fun. I mean, all of the things that's going on, and no one is held accountable. Jerome Gilman, uh, you know, talk to me about this. I mean, you are a Liberian citizen, and you have a moral responsibility to Liberia. Never mind you're in the United States, but you still have a responsibility to Liberia to tell it like it is. So we see something wrong. Don't you see something wrong with what's going on? And how can that be corrected?
Well, one of the things that we stress constantly in American politics is you can see wrong wherever you look, and you can see right wherever you look. It is what you are looking for. There are some like you who will look for nothing but the faults. And we are not saying we have a perfect government. Never, we have never had one. We will never have one. But this government that you have now, and I have to make it clear, I am a citizen, I'm a supporter of the president, and I'm a strong supporter of the Propo agenda. And the president, what he has done and continue to do is unprecedented. We are talking about since 1822 for what this president has done and what he continues to do. Let's look at abroad the whole dossier of what the president has done and continue to do. And I don't want to dwell onto that because it's too many for me to enumerate. But let's look at some of the things that the president have done lately that we are talking about. Let's look at what the United States and the World Bank said recently last week about the first time in the Liberian history that our central bank has been now brought up to par, international standard. Now, Liberia has been run by the intelligentsia, the elite of the world since 1822. And now once have the world said you have run a government now parallel to your peers in the area. The American government, the World Bank, the U.S. Embassy made it clear last week, the pronouncement that this was the best that they have ever seen. And not only is it good for Liberia, but it is good, it's a win-win for the world that gives money and for Liberia that will now see a system in place. That's governance. Now, let's say those of you that say the government is corrupt, I think the former president made it clear. Corruption is systemic in our country, it's in our mosques, it's in our churches, it's in our synagogue, it's in our school.
Yeah, no synagogue.
Yeah, so wherever, for us to deal with our corruption system, remember, the society is a democratic society. We elect people that look like us, that talk like us, that walk like us. So they don't get corrupt by coming into the government. The government don't make anybody corrupt. They are corrupt before they got there. And what you have done, what we have done is giving them power. So that power lies within our hands, not with the president, but with our local government. If you are in Lofa, like I always say, I'm from district number 4, electoral district number 4 in Grand Bassa County. If my representative is not doing what I want him to do, it is within my purview to make sure, I'm not mad with the president, make sure that he doesn't go back there. That power that I gave him, I will take it back from him. But then again, like the legendary Tip O'Neill used to say, all politics are local. Then he turns around, someone asked him, say, but Tip, why is it that the congressional approval is 8%, but your approval in Massachusetts is 92%? He said, maybe because everybody likes their own crooks. So this is where we are. These guys come from where they are, come corrupt, they do nothing. They come, they say, I need change. As evidenced by this going by election and the previous election, the opposition won almost every seat. They were coming to Monrovia to bring change, to hold the president's feet to the fire, and we were not taking the money more than what we deserve. And then when they came in, they are even worse than those that met there. So we have to do the introspection. What is it that we are doing that is feeding this frenzy? They use the president as a prop. Oh, I'm going there, I'm going to give him hell and send me there, I'm going to do this. Then when they get there, we see the opposite. So maybe it is incumbent upon us to see what is it that we are doing that is causing this to continue. And this is
Thank
a
you.
frank discussion.
Thank you. So, Paul, he mentioned the opposition,
Mhm.
so the opposition has a responsibility and a
Yeah.
responsibility to hold the ruling government feet to the fire. The opposition has had a problem doing that of late, and overall, they've not done a very good job with it. But I want to ask you, as a member of the Unity Party, what is going on now? Mr. Boakai has not been seen or heard from. I know that these issues are interconnected. We talk about the president and what they're probably doing, even though Mr. Gaiman denied the CDC's role in all these court cases. But we see what the Solicitor General is doing. So where is Mr. Boakai in all of this?
So the leader of Unity Party is an institution. So we have a chairman, and it's not campaign season. We have a standard bearer who, when it's time to campaign, we'll have the standard bearer will be more vocal, they'll be campaigning. That's the person the party is going to choose to send to office. So we have had, Mr. Boyka did release a statement. He released a couple of press statements and things like that. But the spokesperson, the face of the party, really is Amin Modad. And when we're not in the middle of an election, and so Amin has been vocal. And Mo Ali also is a spokesperson, and we had even the Deputy Secretary General speak in response to the State of the Union as presented by the President. So Mr. Boykai will speak or be more vocal and more visible when it's time to campaign. We're not structured like some of these organizations that were built around a person. Unity Party is an institution. It's not like CDC. Once George Weah has served one, or if he's lucky, 2 terms, CDC will disintegrate because there'll be nobody because it's built around Weah. The person who built Unity Party is no longer with us. The institution has continued. So I just want to make that clear. And I'm also not the official spokesperson for the party. I'm just speaking as far as how it's structured and all of that. But I have seen a press release from Honorable former Vice President and our standard bearer, Joseph Boykai, and I've also seen numerous statements from both Amin Modad and Mo Ali.
Do you know that he's going to testify against his fellow CPP member, Alex Cummins?
I have no idea. I'm not following the case. I don't care to. It's not interesting to me. I'm more trying to figure out if they are going to, put out an APB on these gang rapers and these people that are abusing women and children in Liberia. I really wish that the media would put, a fraction of its energy towards that. Those are the kind of cases that are, of concern to me. Yeah. This is, this thing between Weah and, and I'm sorry, not Weah, but Cummings and Yuri. If white guy's going to test, I don't care. I just don't. I don't see how that's benefiting, the children of the country. I just don't see how it's benefiting them.
Right.
So one of the things I wanted to address, that Jerome said, if you don't mind, when he was talking about the central bank, I'd like to ask him to elaborate on that, because you're talking about the central bank is at world standards. What specific criteria did the central bank meet to elevate itself to that level? Can you name those specifics that the thresholds that were met?
Well, according to the U.S. Release here, they talk about the systemic makeover of the bank. They talk about the transparency and accountability piece that were brought forth, and that their willingness to allow the international community to have a focus group there to monitor and bring and create some parity, where now that the money that were brought into the nation were actually accounted for, and even the mutilated dollars that were destroyed were done systemically and attested to. So these are the things that bring some transparency and some gravitas to the institution, according to them. So
Yeah.
we are saying here, just the fact that they even agree to reduce their salaries by 60%, that was a major threshold. Second,
I'm
they had
sorry.
this policy
I
that,
I'm sorry.
agree.
I just want to get clarity. So you're making these statements. Where's the evidence?
well, I know you don't want me to read it to you because I
No,
printed
I
it
would
all
like to
out.
know so that they can put a
If you
link
went,
on the screen. Where's
actually
the
the
evidence
release
coming
of
from? Is this
the United States release is still on Front Page Africa. When you go, it's still up there. The
I
release
mean,
is still
front
there.
page Africa is not the issue. You said that was the World Bank. Now you're saying the U.S. government. Who is it that releases information, and where can we find it
The
directly
U.S.
from the source?
Embassy, right on the front page, it's still there on the Front Page Africa website. It is still
So
there.
did Front Page Africa do this award, or did World Bank or the U.S. government? I
The
want to
U.S.
know.
government did.
Okay, so if I go to the U.S. government website, I'm going to see
Most
evidence
likely,
of
if
this.
you went to the U.S. Embassy website, you will see the information we are talking about.
Okay, I'm going to do so now. And then
Okay.
the other
Okay.
thing I want to tell you is that publicly burning money outside is not a modern practice. It's not something to applaud. You know, you don't incinerate money that's full of chemicals in a community with witnesses standing around. It is horrible. They used to do this when I lived in Liberia. They used to do this in the NTA compound. And you can ask Charles Salif, I said they should stop doing it. And Charles Salif called me and blasted me, and I told him it is not safe. People live right on the other side of the fence. Children are playing right on the other side of the
And
fence.
I agree
Let
with
me
you.
finish,
I
please.
agree with you
And it's
Hold on,
100%.
toxic.
hold
Excuse
on,
me,
Jerome.
Jerome. Let me finish my statement. You feel free to come back when I'm done. And I told, and Mr. Salif, Mr. Charles Salif, if you're watching, this is a fact. I told him, I said, this is dangerous. And they were like, oh, we're going to report you to the president. No more burning cash in Gardnersville. It's dangerous. It's a tightly overpopulated community. So then they found somewhere way out on Bonny Highway somewhere where people are not too plenty, and they did it there. It's wrong. It's wrong, and it's extremely dangerous and toxic. Now, what I do know that the central, and this is why I asked you for the specifics, central bank continues to do it. They didn't really change the policy then. Then they would just go out with the same witnesses, civil service people. I don't know who comes up with this stuff. And there'll be this whole group of people standing around while they're burning these chemicals. I mean, literally standing there watching these chemicals burn and inhaling all of this toxin. And it happened then. And from what I understand from reading the news clippings, it's still continuing to happen. That is very backward. That's not a success story. That's a shame for us. That's one thing that hasn't improved, and I'm very, very disappointed that it hasn't. And it's not safe, it's not healthy, and I don't know of any international standard that says that this is something we should do. So
Thank you.
you're applauding them for doing something that is extremely dangerous. That's why I said I would like to see where any, government agency, whether it be the United Nations or any watchdog group, is applauding the government of Liberia for doing this. I mean, that's absurd.
Thank you, Cole. Yeah, I would be interested in that report as well, because I agree. I don't think it's safe. Let's go back to one last thing that I want us to talk about when it comes to the recent court cases. As I mentioned at the top of the show, there are three major cases going on within the opposition CPP and the Liberty Party. What are the implications for 2023? Mr. Gaiman, what do you think are the implications for 2023?
Well, one of the things I think, Mrs. Famula, we all agree when it comes to the environment. Actually, I sit on the environmental board, the Florida Lagoon, Indian River Lagoon board. I sit on that. That's environmental stuff. So I understand we all agree there has to be a better way to dispose of our or the incineration of cash. But when you live in a society where everybody is skeptical, where everybody is saying the money disappeared, everybody is saying the money is in somebody's container sitting behind somebody's house, these are desperate moments for desperate time. But is that the best moment? I don't think so. But now let's go to the court cases. Uh, to be very frank with you, I think it behooves us that we have a united opposition, because today it is President Weah and the CDC that is in power. Tomorrow it has to be somebody else. And our democracy can only survive if we have at least two strong opposition or two strong political options in the country. As it stands, this is what I see here is a bunch of testosterone among these men running around, suing each other, beating their chest, saying, I should be one, I should be like who's on first base, and nobody wants to be on second base. Everybody's on first base. Mr. Cummings made it clear from the very inception, I cannot be representative, I cannot be senator, I can't be anything. I have to be number one, and that's the only thing. I've seen the same thing with my former tribesman, kinsman, Charles Walker Bronsky, a man who we felt to have done more for Liberia in many other ways. But he chose to say, if I'm not number one, I can't be anything else in the country. So these are people who are selfish, and they are not doing it for the country. Somebody could say, okay, you can say all you want to say about Honorable Joseph Boyka. Honorable Joseph Boyka has a convincing case. I have been vice president for 12 years. It wouldn't make sense for me to be vice president of somebody else. And that makes sense. For those who are coming into this being that love our country, that wants our country to move forward, I see no reason why four men should be at each other's throat. The new joke in town is the Temple of Justice now is the new headquarters of the CPP, of the opposition, because there Dillon is, Liberty Party is, Nyobli Kanga is, Military is, I mean, all the opposition, they are there. Every morning when they turn the TV on, they are at the Temple of Justice. Either Musa suing somebody suing Dillon. Now, yesterday, Nyobli Kanga and their group sued Liberty Party, and that case was thrown out today. So here we are. It is disheartening. As much as we want to win, it is good to say I beat the best that this country has to offer. Like when we just watched the African Cup of Nations, when Senegal beat Egypt, we all went up and cheered and said this was the best. They beat the best team in town. You beat your chest when you beat the best team. So for us to say, Honorable Boyka made it clear that one political party cannot win any election in Liberia, even the CDC by herself cannot win any election. We know this. So if this is the case, why can't we hold together? Right. As Cummings said, we want to make George president. We are a one-term president. How badly do you want to make him one-term president when you say you can't be number two to anybody? So this is the deception that we are talking about. These people are not real. And if they are not careful, there may be somebody from somewhere else, a dark horse from somewhere that may just come and take this thing from everybody.
I certainly hope there's that dark horse. I don't see that right now. What is your prescription for the best way forward? You as a policy analyst, and you present a real cogent assessment of situation in Liberia. I like to hear your prescription.
I think one of my observations has been that people fail to study the problems in Liberia. You cannot solve an equation that you haven't studied, right? You have to know what the problem is. And I hear everyone speaking jargon and speaking in cliches and stating things without any depth, without any real grasp of global politics, how it has affected Liberia historically, where we are currently, and how we're going to progress the best way we can progress under our current circumstances. So our problems, internal problems, are symptomatic So let me be simple about it. If you're going to a doctor to solve a problem and you're coughing, and the doctor said, "Oh, you're coughing," and diagnose you with cough and give you cough medicine, that doctor has failed, right? Anyone can see that you're coughing. What is the causal factor for that cough? What is making you cough? Do you have coronavirus? Do you have tuberculosis? Do you have some other underlying issues, respiratory issues? What is the problem? Is it environmental? Is it an allergy? If you don't look to see the causal factor for the problem, you will never be able to solve it. I have yet, even the existing administration, I have yet to see a politician in Liberia clearly and concisely articulate the causal factors for our problem. That is what needs to be solved, not putting band-aids on the symptoms or condemning the symptoms. The symptoms are a manifestation of a bigger issue. We see corruption, that is a symptom. We see what we misuse the word mediocrity. Mediocrity means average. What we're doing is not average, it's far below average. We see substandard, productivity, substandard results of our work, substandard, governance, substandard conduct everywhere. Everything's done below normal standards. Why is that? We look at education. Why is the education system struggling? We're building all of these universities, but we're not building instructors. We're not building teachers. We're not building professors. You want to build hospitals. You're not building proper doctors. Laboratories do not exist. Modern laboratories do not exist in the nursing schools, in the medical schools. You're graduating doctors that don't even have modern stethoscopes, that are not even using proper cadavers, that don't have the equipment to properly learn their craft. And you're building teachers that don't have the equipment to properly learn their craft. And then you have them teaching people poorly under substandard conditions. Students are going to schools that don't have proper ventilation, that have asbestos, that have lead paint. The list goes on. The problems in Liberia are so deep that if we don't start to get actual technocrats in there to do the work, now when I say technocrats, I'm talking about Liberians. I just read the article, or was skimming over the article. I didn't read it thoroughly. I went to the U.S. Embassy website, and I saw absolutely nothing praising central bank, by the way, and you all can feel free to go there. It's usembassy.gov.
Right.
And you could just Google U.S. Embassy Liberia.
I'm looking at the article.
It will take you to the website, and you can see everything and then you can do a search for central bank. Everything that it's ever done for central bank will pop up. There's no praise here. All they're saying is that they're announcing a technical assistance program. They always do that. It's not something big to celebrate. It's a shame for us. Why are they giving us technical assistance? It means that we don't know what we're doing. It means the U.S. government is sending people in to help us do our jobs. That's pathetic. And at some point in the future, we have to realize it's also a national security issue to be depending on a foreign country to run your government. If you look at the U.S. Embassy, if you look at USAID, if you look at all of these German GIZ, the German philanthropic government's philanthropic wing, you see China. We've got China. Everybody is in Liberia putting forth efforts to run our country for us. This is a national security issue. They're doing it, and we're allowing them to do it because we don't know what we're doing. That is failure. That's failure. There's no way in this world that even France could send technical assistance to the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank. It's mind blowing. Who the hell is going to allow foreigners, a foreign government, to come and run the Federal Reserve Bank in the United States? And then we're clapping for this. It's such a slavish mentality. So we don't even have the appropriate ambition. We don't even have the appropriate goals of self-governance. We don't even value our sovereignty or our own ability to do our jobs. And we have very low expectations of ourselves as Liberian people. This is not something to applaud. This is shameful.
Thank you. Thank you. Cole, I can listen to you all day. And a lot of well-meaning Liberians can listen to you all day. And because, I mean, you bring so much to these discussions. And my only hope is that, our leaders, if you want to build your country, I think you need to listen to some of this, right? Some of what you are saying, some of what Mr. Gamer is saying, but
Right.
especially what you bring to the table. It's so much, refreshing. So I can't thank you enough, and I mean that.
Thank you.
So right now we're going to move on to something else, and that is a blistering attack on the president of the Republic of Liberia by a sitting member of the House of Representatives. And
Hmm.
in fact, the representative mocked the president, uh, and the representative went further and made a threat, although uh, that some may say, that's a bunch of braggadocio. But when this is coming from a sitting member of the House of Representatives, then it has to be a bit concerning. Although I do not believe that Yekeh Koloba is going to go back to the bushes and bring any war, but he said it. I mean, it has to be concerning. So we're going to talk about that. So if we'll have a brief video clip of
That were
what
there.
he said. Take
So
a
I
listen.
brought the trophy to give them to that irresponsible and disgraceful president because he loved to be celebrated. Ambassador Weah, you have told your foes that this year we should start again. Most of the trophy, I brought 9 trophies for him because it's very irresponsible. We have the most irresponsible president ever in the history of Liberia. He loved to be celebrated. We brought him to give to him, and he won world best, he won most valuable player. We brought one to give it to him for being the most empty-headed president ever in the history of Liberia. All the trophies got meaning. You have a president when he smoke opium, he bring a private left outside to discuss in the public. You know who is Ase Batoba? I'm disappointed in the journal minister. When Monba Molu came out and said, President Weah say he can sleep with women before he get a job, the people condemn me because they said, Clark Weah, you think I got regret for open going to go discuss the wealth, Clark Weah? Your husband went and smoke opium and came outside and brought your private left outside so the public will take it.
Yeah, I mean, that was heavy. He said way a lot more than that. And so I want us to take a moment to dissect the representative, the honorable Yekeh Kaluba's critique of the president, or his mockery of the president, and quite frankly, some of the things he expressed in that conference were very disturbing. So I want us to Mr. Gaiman, start us with what's your take, your feedback on what you just heard.
Well, first, I think if anybody came out here to hear or fight at the hearing over there, that it make no sense. But let me just say something. I'm going to go back to that. But Kou said something. Mrs. Family said something.
Let's take on this for a minute.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
take on
yeah.
this
I'm coming to
region.
that. I'm coming to that. I want to read something from the excerpt from the resolution that was just submitted in the House in the United States. And one particular passage got to me, and I think she just alluded to that inadvertently. It said, whereas the United States' interest in Liberia's natural resources and Liberia's strategic location in West Africa resulted in enhanced bilateral collaboration in 1942. Do you hear what they are saying? Mr. Famula was saying that we should be embarrassed that a foreign nation is actually running our affairs. And here it's in black and white, not from any other person, but from the flow, from the well of the United States Congress, where they put in right in the resolution
Yeah.
that their interest in Liberia because of our natural resources and our strategic location is why they are there.
Right.
So then I was talking to some opposition. They are saying, well, President Weah is nobody because he has never visited the White House or he's never had an invitation from the White House. Can you imagine a sovereign state? We as a people, we are saying that if Ellen Johnson Sirleaf or Mrs. Famula become president or Sirleaf or Ms. Sharif become president, if the white, and I hate to say this, but if the supreme white folk do not call you to the house, like Professor PLO say, he said the African leaders get elected while his people are cheering. He sits in his office waiting on a phone call from either France or Great Britain or Germany or Spain. In our case, waiting at the phone for the United States government to call United States president. Then he turns around and says, ladies and gentlemen, I just heard I was just congratulated by the United States president or by the Queen or millions of people out there jubilating. It means nothing to them unless that call comes from the United States, Great Britain, France. And this is to say to us, those of you who are much younger than we are, this is your burden. This is a puzzle that you have to put together. It is embarrassing, like she said, but for some reason, we keep buying into this thing that if we are not legitimized by those who victimize us, then we are nobody. Now, let me go to the Yekeh Koluba thing. Actually, the CDC love Yekeh Koluba because this guy has sucked out. You talk about opposition, you talk about policy, you talk about concrete policy, you talking about, he sucked the air out of the debate. And this comical thing that's going on, everybody's cheering, the media following him. We have left, we are talking about fiscal policy, monetary policy. Mrs. Famula talk about the security of the state. We talk about children, raping, and all of these major issues. We are not discussing them. The whole media is focused on this thing, and we talk about trophies. This man, when Mrs. Famula said, she said, I have not given anybody an IQ test, so I cannot say that the person is not intelligent. And here Yekeh Koluba said he has mud in his head, and he's this and he's that. And the people, I mean, the whole crowd follow him there wherever he goes. We have left the substantive debate about state security, about monetary policy, about the economic system of the country. We're talking about infrastructure development. She talked about education, healthcare. As far as, and I'm a citizen, and I know they don't want me to say this, but as far as they are concerned, Yekeh can take the stage for the whole month because the more he distracts from the policy that have been going on, the better it is for the citizen and those who are looting, stealing, and we are talking about, when we talk about stealing and incompetence and all of those things, it cuts across party line. And once in a while, we have to agree that those among us who are corrupt, like the GACC have just grabbed the Elections Commission, the Agriculture Minister, Water and Sewer, those people, if it was in the West, just being accused alone is enough to be suspended.
Thank you.
Okay, but here we are in Liberia. Mrs. Cooper from Agriculture, she went and hired our entire PR team, and they were all over the place, trying to trash the GAC and LNCC as they are not competent enough. They don't know why they're. Can you imagine that you work for the government that put in place an institution that been there from early and they've been building upon it. The international community have been doing the best they can to uphold this. And then you are a member of the particular government. When they grab you in corruption, then you say the institution, our own institution is worthless. They are not good and they are witch hunting. So we have to collectively, not just the opposition, but those within the government, we have to get rid of these people.
Thank you. Thank you. Claude, does he have a point? Does Representative Yekeh Koluba have a point, because one of the things, this is not the entire clip, one of the things he did say was that this president loves attention. So I'm going to bring all of these trophies to
I
award
mean,
him. So the
yeah,
symbolism is really powerful.
I mean, symbolism is powerful. He's got the theatrics, and he is um, communicating to his constituents in a way that he believes will get through to them. And unfortunately, there's a good segment of the population that likes that kind of extreme display. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't think that it is necessary. He does have a right to conduct himself that way. There's nothing that prevents anyone from expressing themselves in the way that he's doing. But it was really distasteful. And I don't think the issue that we should be having with the president or the government should ever be personal. The issue should be based on policy and procedures and those kinds of things. When you start to attack a human being, a person, it takes away from the substance. You know, we don't come to fight flesh and blood. We've come to fight, you know, wickedness in high and low places, right? We've come to fight for our fellow citizens, for ourselves. We haven't come to fight a person. Mr. Weah, when he is no longer president, will also be a fellow citizen. He's a citizen now. And that is one of the things that I think we're lacking in Liberia, is the understanding that the purpose of politics is not to destroy people, but is to build people. Your motivation should be to advance the cause of the Liberian people. And the disagreement shouldn't be on whether or not we should advance the cause, but how we proceed towards that advancement and what advancement looks like. So I think that's where we have problems and shortcomings. The Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission is substandard. They do have, a lot of backwardness. They are politically motivated at times. They are susceptible to bribes. They themselves are in fact corrupt. And I can, get into many, many examples of where I've seen they're also inept. And almost all of the institutions in Liberia have a certain level of ineptitude. That's not because of any other reason than the fact that we have, it stems from our education system. You can't raise great auditors with ethics if the entire society needs to have ethics training. And there's no way you can expect the international community to build your citizens for you. That's one of the flaws we have. They don't care. When they send the donors there, they're there for their own agenda. They're not there to help you be better. The world is not feeling sorry for Liberians. The whole power structure of the world is a zero-sum game. If we increase, someone else has to decrease. Nobody in the world is going to increase you if it doesn't benefit them to do so. And until we stop thinking that other people are going to build our institutions, we're going to continue to fail. I mean, I've seen audit reports coming out of there that are horrible, horrible. I mean, you can audit, the school board is audited better than how these people conduct audits in Liberia. That's a fact. Anybody want to challenge me on it? I'll publish audit reports that I have from there. And so it's not to say that there wasn't corruption. It is to say the reason it's hard to prosecute corruption is because even the auditors don't know how to properly do their jobs, a lot of them. So you can't prosecute something when you haven't proven it. For example, they'll make a statement, oh, this person left the job so and so time. What's the evidence of when they left? You don't have a resignation letter. You don't have a dismissal letter. How do you know the person left the job before time and got paid? Oh, the minister said it. Is that an instrument that an auditor should be using to make a determination? Word of mouth? It makes no sense. And so until we understand the shortcomings, we shouldn't be defending any of this. The agriculture ministry in Liberia and the Weah administration, of all the things George Weah is doing, one of the most successful things he's done is in the agricultural sector in Liberia. I will tell you something. if there's anything anybody says, oh, George Weah, he giving why he do. Under George Weah, the agriculture sector of Liberia has grown exponentially. I want to believe, I'm not sure, that this might be because of of the first lady and her interest in this. I'm not sure.
I think it started before him.
It did, but
yeah.
I was in Liberia during Ellen's administration.
Right.
And I'm talking about privately owned farm projects. Liberians, and yes, you can say, oh yeah, the land authority was started under the Selective administration. I mean, I worked for the Land Commission before it became an authority through the UN. But all I'm saying is I have seen a great boom in agriculture. In Nimba, in Lofa, in Bomi, and it isn't being talked about. And instead, the government's attacking the best performing minister. It's shocking to me. When people start cussing like, oh, agriculture, I'm like, do you know how many young people are all starting farms projects in Liberia and creating jobs around agriculture? This is powerful. And if I had any advice for the Weah administration, it would be to encourage this. But because somebody else wants to be in the woman's position or whatever, they start attacking her. Then the CDC not good thing for them.
No, but
it's not good for y'all.
No. Let's be clear here. I understand your woman solidarity.
No, not woman solidarity. I'm speaking the truth. I'm speaking the truth because you don't hear me. And I know Piso from Minnesota. You hear me applauding gender ministry. I'm not a fool. I speak what I know. And I'm not simple like that to just support somebody because they're a woman or they're in my tribe or any of that stuff. Or because they're in my party or whatever. I don't do that. I'm speaking the truth. And attacking the success of the woman who's brought success to that, and I'm sure it's not just her. I'm sure there's a whole team that's there. There's probably deputies, assistant ministers, technical people, but the ministry is probably the best performing ministry in the country. We should protect her. And not only should we protect her, we should encourage this agricultural boom, and he should visit people's farms.
Yeah.
And he should show Liberian people what these people are doing. That's what I would do if I was a seditious.
What?
You want audit somebody, audit the people, audit everybody. Everybody gets audited in government.
But listen to this though.
I think he should certainly take advantage of.
No, Mr. Sharif.
What the Liberian people are doing. I support that. You brought this up on one of our shows, and I really support it. I think that the government does not know what its priorities are, in terms of, supporting, like you mentioned, agriculture. This is where one of the places that they should lay all the eggs should be laid in the basket.
Yeah.
Mr. Sharif, that's not true. This particular I have a farm. I just invested in 100 acres, and I chose to do cocoa, exclusively cocoa.
You're doing cash crops.
Yes.
Jerome,
that has nothing to do with
I wanted to finish my point. You guys interrupted me.
Go ahead, ma'am.
May I? Okay. So when I'm talking about agriculture, cash crops are not the best thing for the economy. I applaud you for doing something. I love the idea that you're doing a cocoa plantation. Food production is what is happening. Rice production. You're seeing Liberians going back to the soil and growing food. I'm aware of a massive planting project in Bomi. They're growing rice in Lofa again. They're growing rice in Bedding again. Liberia used to be the grain coast. We're getting the foundation of a country. The sovereignty of a country rests on its ability to feed itself. Cocoa is not something that will feed people. I think that I don't know what your complaints about the minister or whatever. I'm just talking about what I see happening. And maybe the seeds of this were sown during Solis administration. I don't know. But I'm seeing it being productive now. And if I had the kind of power that the president has, that would be the focus.
And I agree with you. And I agree with you because when you look at Armstrong Jabba, this guy is into rice, into you name it, he has.
Yeah, that's just
farmer over. It is totally, when you talk to him, he will tell you, I have nothing to do with the government. I have nothing to do with the ministry. I don't go to them because they are too bureaucratic. You spend more time there. asking and filling a form and talking to folks. So he's doing it independent, just like I am doing, and many other folks are doing, because of the bureaucracy, because of who knows you and all of that. But this is, I see here that we have to take a break, and then we want to bring other people in. Other people want to chime in. But one thing that we agree on today is that, you know, when I see, like you talk about the theatrics of politicians on the ground who supposed to be representing a slum where needs are. I'm, you know, where I cannot say this because in developed countries, you do needs assessment. And in Liberia, it's not even difficult to do needs assessment, where everything is non-existent. And for you to be in the House for almost 6 years now, 5 years now, and there's not one bill on the floor to benefit women, children, health, education. There is no project, meaningful project. There's no school or anything. For me, for those who are in power, who would like to deflect, they love Yekeh. They love to see him because whenever he's around, there's nothing you can get out of. You can ask anybody, what bill have you done, or what, you know, what are you discussing? There's nothing. So the folks from Grand Bassa County, when I want to talk to them about what is it that you are doing to benefit the people of Grand Bassa County, or I see on Spoon TV or Front Page Africa in the houses, Yekeh Koluba or whoever they are pushing each other and they're dragging somebody from and then they shut it down. So we have to, our education system, we have to go back. When we were growing up, we had a very strong civic system. As we used to say, a good government begins at home. It's like charity. We have to learn to teach our children our civic responsibility. Like we used to say, from ABC to SOSO all the way up to high school. We have to get back to that. I understand, because of the advent of the Civil War, we have had a serious breakage in our education system. And gradually, it will get there, but we have to collectively do it. And I think Tolba used to use the word gradualism. We build upon it little. When Ellen started, the things they put in place, we build upon it, and somebody else come in and they build upon it. Instead of coming in and say, well, Ellen did this, and I'm a strong advocate of that. Not because Ellen did this, so you come and start all over. You build on what she did, and then when you leave, somebody else come, and that's how we're going to get there. So it is my prayer that someday we're going to get there.
Thank you. Thank you. Viewers, you're watching Tough Talking Thursday. We will now take our first break. When we come back, we will take some comments from our viewers. So we will take a break. We'll take a short break.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Viewers, we are back. So now we will read some comments. If there are any. Jerry Sumo says, I see why UP government stole everything from Liberia because next. Injection, the president is not campaigning. From Tonya Brooks said, Ellen Johnson behind all this confusion between the opposition in Liberia. Saya Francis, a bunch of haters to the Weah-led government, so sad, including Jerome Gilman. I don't think so. Edward Hall said, Gilman, what you had to drink before coming to this show.
But that cost night, Tough Talking Thursday.
Yeah.
Ellen Johnson is protecting herself. That is why she's doing this to Liberia.
Oh.
Emmanuel Tullian says Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and her children worked in the Western societies without stealing a cent, but they found it very easy to steal in our Liberian government. I believe Cummins could be like the Sirleafs and others.
Oh.
Kevin Nyoma Bedelsa Cole, you're lying, Madam. The Conti King is still at LRA.
The what?
The Conti T King Saki is still at LRA. I don't know what that is. Samara Pratt said, I
But
love
that can
seeing
see that
educated
yeah.
women.
True boss or another.
I love seeing educated women fat check men. Uh, Aruna Asma Keita said, Cole, you spoke well, but please give Jerome his time when he's speaking without interrupting him.
That's correct. Thank you. Thank you.
Jeremiah Bayoga Sr. said, I want to call. Please share FOL phone number. FOA phone number, meaning FOL. Jerry Sumo said, you all been sitting on Facebook talking rubbish while the president is heading for his second term. He's representing Mr. Cooney tonight. Seattle Jones said, you're speaking too much big terms, Mr. Sharif. Why isn't which is even necessary? Okay. You need to break it down so the layman can understand. I don't know. Last name Debo said, but the culture of corruption can be rejected if it prevents one from carrying out the task with efficiency. Rosalind Cooper, I just loved how they don't interrupt one another. Bravo, call Fambolet and team. Kristen Lardner said ministers are corrupt, so did the citizens appoint the ministers. Here, Blamo Forkett said, Kristen Lardner, the legislature also have the right to bring them to book for corruption. Why do you think they go through confirmation? Jeremiah Carson said, Mr. Sharif, are you the moderator of this show tonight or an antagonist of the president?
Both.
Dennis, you got to blame Dennis for this. Dennis put me in this seat tonight. Jabari Sharif said, the only politician in Liberia that they know is Dr. Weah. They live in America and know nothing about what's happening in Liberia. Okay,
that's right.
Dave Jazz said they can have transparency and preserve health safety at the same time.
That's correct.
Dave Jazz also says Tiawan Gonglo is the dark horse, Mohammed. Okay. Christian Lawrence said it won't be done because they are all corrupt. To fight corruption, we must start from the top. If a president is disciplined, oh man, Dennis, what are you doing? Okay, so we're gonna the opposition will worry again as the U.S. president has nominated and sent forth his presidential team headed by former U.S. ambassador to Liberia to participate in luncheon of the bicentennial of Liberia. What is that? Batam Kula said, Weah gets a second term thanks to CPP focused on Liberia. Oh, wow. Dave just said, Gilman, you cannot have it both ways. You were just dancing because the U.S. Embassy value your national bank through, though there is no concern about the improvement in the people's quality of life. Now you are complaining of imperialist interference. The Farid Sharif said, "Lo, that minister has done nothing in agriculture. We are just doing on our own private farming. I am doing my farming because I saw others doing it in the Ivory Coast." Tai G, FOL should invite the agriculture minister to talk about the improved sector. That's a point. That's a good point. Howard Mesga said, I'm out of here. I will not watch FOL. You all continue to bring a man on here, Gilman, that insult women. This game
Oh,
man repeatedly insulted me and many others in several chat rooms. Or is there any merit to this?
wow.
Next,
I have no clue who this woman is.
Tonya Brooks. Yekeh been writing bills, but the speaker not putting it on the floor. Wale Pinga said the U.S. is coming for George Weah. These people, man. Stop talking Thursdays. These people, you think
But
we are tough.
but
These
and that's
people are
your
tough.
name? And that's your name? Tough talking Thursday. So
These people are tough, man. It's all right. So we've just heard the comments from our viewers. Unfortunately, I don't think they'll be able to call in today.
they can
If I'm
call.
if I'm correct, Dennis. Well, the number is on here. Okay. So anyway, let's react to can we react to some of the comments and then move on to the sanctions, something that was brought up by one of the viewers, Mr. Gaiman.
Well,
Just briefly. We're not spending too much
yes,
time.
as you can see, the comment section is a broad array of your audience. We have actually today we have a lot of objective folks on here. I know there were a few pro and con, but when you look at through what we are talking about here, and I keep saying to folks, just like we say here on Focus on Liberia, whether you are opposition or the imposition or the ruling party, we all have one thing in common. We love our country. This is why we are doing this. The only thing that is lacking is our ability to come together when wrong is done, that we express it, and when good is done, we express it. There are those who see nothing right, and there are those who see nothing wrong. And we can't carry our democracy this way. The day you are in power, everybody else, the opposition stays and say, we would, no matter what it is that you do, we cannot recognize anything good in you. Then the day you come to power, they do the same thing. So the Nelson Mandela used to say, you cannot run a society, okay, at 100% with 50% capacity. So CDC alone does not have monopoly on ideas. There are those who have legitimate ideas and suggestions that they bring to government, but it's the presentation, it's the way they bring forth their proposal, it's the way you bring forth your idea. If you have an idea, like I say, if it's solution oriented, like I was on a talk show and an opposition says, I feel that all educators abroad should not wait for an invitation from the government. If you are from Grand Bassa County and you have a community college or university, it is incumbent upon you to see to it that that works. Don't come and say I can't come until the president appoints me the president of this university or the president of this community college. That's where we get into trouble. If you have expertise, we all cannot work in government because the government does not have the capacity to bring every one of us on. But we can do things, especially in the private sector, to expand, to develop the middle class in this country. This government, we have 349 million people. Only 20 million people work for the federal government. So everybody else works outside the government. Same thing. We have to use our expertise in some way to expand. When I started doing the cocoa thing, I did it because I promised that I was going to do something for the government. So I hired 20 people full time, okay? And they make whatever they make. I'm doing, that's my contribution to my country, 20 people off government payroll. If we all did that in our own separate ways, everybody won't come to Monrovia because there where the thing is like Dillinger. When he robbed a bank continuously when he was arrested, the judge asked him, why do you keep robbing the bank? He said, because that's where the money is. He said, but Judge, I thought you were smart. Isn't where to keep the money? Say, yes, in the bank. Same thing, Monrovia is where everything is. We have built a society, we build a culture, we build a government that was so terribly built. The foundation is so rotten that to do anything, you have to come to Monrovia. So we used to have this thing in social science called the urban draw and the rural push. Okay.
Yeah.
Everything is in the city. So the city is pulling everybody, drawing everybody, and the city say, the old people used to say, Jerome, y'all go to Monrovia so y'all can be better, so your life can be better. So we all come to Monrovia, and then we all bought up there, and then our life get even worse than we were in the interior. So what we have to do, the decentralization is incumbent, not just government, but upon the private citizens like you and myself.
So true. So true. Cole, what's your take on our viewers' comment?
I don't really. I mean, they were funny. I didn't hear anything that I need to respond to. I'm very concerned about what Hawa Metzger said. I think that's a very serious accusation, and I think that the fact that you've read it, on air, is something that needs attention to be drawn to, because one, if it's true, it's horrible. It needs to be addressed, and if it's not true, it needs to be addressed. So I don't know why Dennis put that up if he wasn't ready or prepared to deal with the seriousness of it. It's a very serious accusation against our colleague here, and that I don't think we should just gloss over it.
Yeah,
but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but to be very frank with you, I think you and I discussed it just recently. Anybody can make any comment. You can accuse anybody, but you need to bring some kind of proof to say
this is true.
This person did this, or this person. When we said that Yekeh Koluba was a comical, we put up a film that says this is what he did. Yeah. When you say somebody is abusive in chat rooms, other chat rooms, then you need to come on and say, well, this was the conversation between me and this person.
Right. And I agree with that. Yeah. But my issue is that you read it on air.
Oh no, I think, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
I mean, so that brings it to light. It shouldn't have been. We shouldn't have read it.
I agree.
Because it was just that serious. But that's that's something we can talk about later. I just wanted to express that. For me, that's a very serious accusation, and we read it on the platform.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I agree. And one of the things I think that in hosting a show live is as a host, you don't have the advantage of what is going through the coming through the script to see what is going through. So because of the seriousness of it, I think that if these things can be vetted, before they're even brought up, it's just a suggestion from me. It's just a suggestion. So.
Yeah, but look what happened in our national discourse. Even here, the people said Joe Biden, the Democrats were pedophiles. This thing, the Hillary Clinton was sacrificing babies, and there was a pizza club in Washington D.C. that was desecrated and the firebomb because they said they were the Democrats, the liberal met, and all of these things. So when you are in the public glare, these things are things that people will say, and they have the right to say so.
I mean, people, say things. We spent too much time. I've already made my point.
Yeah, I mean, you all know
that's my only concern about the comments. Everything else, it's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Yeah, and then there was there was another caller, Jerome. I mean, you were not on the show that day, I don't think. That wrote something derogatory about me. I mean, and I always, even if it's not read, but I see these comments. But it doesn't, for the business that we're in. I always say this. It's really a tough business.
But your show, the name of your show is Tough Talking.
Right, and they really, and people just write, and our job is to make sure that before we even bring it up, and Paul is right that it's vetted and it's investigated, and if it's related to it.
But if you do what we do, your skin got to be real thick, because I was on the show with Dennis Jolly last time. The gentleman said, this gay man, I saw him kissing the ground with George Weah the other day. I would never watch him. He looking.
Right.
There's another guy they call Michael Gilman. Not the same spelling. His name is Michael Gilman, and he was in Liberia. They called him the Decemberese, and they met
Margaret
with
Gilman went to the same school I graduated from, Bishop Juliet High School.
There you go. And they were out there, and he was, whether he kissed the ground, I don't know, but the guy attacked me and said, I would never watch you anymore because you were in Liberia kissing the ground that George Weah walked on. So, it wasn't me, but the name sounds so familiar.
Yeah. Just real quick, there was a comment just now, and it says, Thomas Awodeji said, I think that lady was talking about Gilman. This is Mr. Gaiman.
Oh, see, I mean that's what I'm saying. We should let's move on, but it shouldn't have been read. Is my point of my point.
Okay.
If we didn't have any evidence, we shouldn't be reading those kinds of strong accusations. Now somebody's saying that she's confusing him with someone else. We shouldn't be given that kind of thing without evidence, you know. And if there is evidence, then it needs to come up. That's all I was saying.
Correct.
So Liberians have a tendency to, and I'm not saying that this is now no longer related to this, but you know, people say things about people, like you said, Mr. Gaiman. People say things about people without any proof. They make accusations. They, you know, insult people. This is the culture. It's a very self-destructive culture of envy, culture of you know, we have a lot of work to do.
We have a lot of
work to do.
Yeah, we got a traumatized country too now.
Very traumatized. All of it. I'm traumatized. I suffer from trauma, you know, from the war, or even before the war. My father was killed. So all of us have suffered great losses, Liberians. But one of the things I wanted to point out, I have a friend that used to always say to me, how do you eat an elephant? And then she would say, you know, anytime we're facing some kind of challenge, and like, well, we'll see the end of this thing. Like we're taking, you know, 20 credits a semester. When are you going to, when was it like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
There's so much work to be done that it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And the idea is not to pretend to be doing things, but start with tangible steps towards progress. The building of our civilization, the execution of our mandate as a republic, as it was designed to be, is a profound one. I often hear people insulting the country. I often hear people disrespecting those who came before them. This is not patriotic. This is a symptom and a manifestation of self-hatred. Liberia is one of the greatest ideas in the history of the African world. If we only understood the plan, the assignment that's been handed down to us by our ancestors, both indigenous and repatriated, if we only understood the assignment that has been handed down to us by our ancestors, and if we only understood that we needed to pick up that torch and carry it forward another generation, we would get so much done. But because we have been told that everything that has happened in history, and this is one of the ways they've used, it's one of the weapons that they used, especially during the Cold War, but that's a different show, to disabuse us of the idea that we have a right to love our country and to love each other and to respect our past and all the things we've overcome, the adversity we've overcome. If we only understood it and respected it, it would be the greatest accomplishment, the greatest leap toward us getting to where we need to be. But we will never make progress as a country if we continue to condemn the people whose shoulders we stand upon. You cannot stand on the shoulders of giants and spit in their faces and expect to succeed. It's not African, it is not our culture, it is not correct. Europeans, Asians have some of the most brutal histories. Americans have some of the most brutal histories. They recognize the brutality, but they speak of their country with reverence, because the country itself is an idea.
Yep.
that has not yet been manifested, and they're working towards manifesting that idea. We need to understand what it means to be a patriot of a country.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
The Tabata movement?
We have, so we'll briefly talk about the targeted sanctions. Recently, we know that, as I think back in December, there was a action taken by the United States government to sanction Senator Johnson. And so, what does this mean and its impact for our future, and who should be worried and why? And then Mr. Vatuba's situation, where were it not for perhaps the intervention of the U.S. Embassy, he would have still been incarcerated. So what does this mean for us as an independent nation? And one thing I like to add is, as it got out, and he was let go, so because he had someone to intervene for him. But we're looking at a situation where a senator, someone who won his seat from Lofa County, now allegedly had to flee, and the government is trying to steal that that slot. So why are we caving to the United States and not doing the right thing? So this is for me, this is very concerning. I don't know what's you all take on this, but it is, for me, it's concerning. I've talked about this time and time and again, and just the incident last week, or for the last 2 weeks, it just gives me a sort of window to the ineptitude of this government. Jerome, what says you? You're a big CDC supporter.
Yeah,
I'm sure
I know we're running out of time here.
Just want to hear from you too.
Yes. First of all, let me disabuse the notion that Azevar Tukba was arrested and the United States got involved. It was never so. Azevar Tukba, the dramatics, the theatric that he wanted to put into to be seen as another co-star, I fled through how to call it, the Sierra Leone, knowing that never happened. I think the administration did the right thing. You have a U.S. passport, you have your round trip ticket. Just go the right way. Go back and go through the RIA just as you were supposed to go. That's all. But we are not going to give you the luxury of going out there because they say he was in his flip-flop looking at somebody who was actually trying to flee, like somebody was chasing him. So that was the theatric, and I think they dealt with it the right way. As far as the sanction is concerned, I think we're back to square one. They were, I think, Mr. Cummings and few Liberians came to the United States, and in fact, there are some, like the representative from Nimba County, writing the U.S. Congress, say, you have done well to sanction Prince Johnson, but please go further and remove him from here, arrest him. Can you imagine a representative from the Liberian House of Representatives? I think it was Yekeh from Nimba County, asking the American government, you have done well for us by declaring Prince Johnson, but can you please have him arrested so our people can be free? This is a congressman appealing to another congressman. Then our
someone who represents foreigners.
Yes, yeah, right. Then Mr. Cummings said he came over here and he's also appealing for the U.S. Congress to do sanction on Liberians. And I mean, it is so pathetic. And it reminds me of this. And those of us who are steeped in history, my specialty has always been inequality and social stratification. That's my graduate study. And one of the things that I've always reminded folks when I read the American history, that act that sent the people back to Liberia, the Speaker of the House at the time was Clay. Clay made it clear the reason the Black people needed to leave this soil is that they are inept and incapable of self-governance. We're talking about 200 years ago. So when I see these people who are not steeped in history fighting among themselves, and like Cole said, we have no pride in our country because we are not in power today. We are tearing everything down. It is pathetic. This man may be in here great laughing and say, I told you 200 years ago that these people are incapable of getting anything right. It's like I went to a funeral and they said, there's a saying, is there anything, can anything good come out of nuclear town? I heard that 1,000 times when I was in DC. I went to a funeral, and the great men and women that have come from that place. But that cloud hangs over them. Okay? Same thing here. We have people, congressmen and women, calling upon the United States to come and surgically move our elected people, citizens of another country, because they dislike that person. It is demeaning. We have sunk to another depth that I just don't know. Let's just say maybe education, but as it stands, we are in trouble if we are depending on a foreign agent to come to our country to solve our issues.
So, Cole, what is it that Liberia needs to do? Because there is pay for play, there is corruption, which is endemic in the Liberian society. I mean, it's fashionable to be corrupt. If you're not corrupt, if you're not building skyscrapers, all over the place, when you get a government job. So government job is where, people go, you start from the bottom line, which is poverty. And by the time after 4 years, you're wealthy.
Yeah, I mean, the country needs leadership. The country needs leadership. The country needs a leader that has studied the problem and that knows the direction it needs to go in. But we said this at the beginning of the show, we keep repeating ourselves. If you don't understand the assignment, you're not going to get it right. I don't believe, and I haven't been impressed, by the current politicians. When I read the writings of E.J. Roy or C.T.O. King or, Edward Wilmot Blyden or, Citizen Hillary Teague, when I read these people that we keep condemning, yet we stand on our shoulders, when you read Didwo Twe, when you read Wollo, who went to Harvard, when you read all of these great giants, Angie Brooks, the Gola Queen, when you read what they wrote, you will understand the kind of giants, the kind of brilliance Liberia has produced. They left a blueprint for us to follow. No one should be running for office in Liberia. Nobody should be running for president, representative. Nobody should serve in government without reading what these people wrote. It doesn't happen in America. You can never run for office in America and be completely ignorant about the country. Part of your campaign message always reiterates the purpose, the vision of the country. And the citizens don't know it, so they don't expect the politicians are just citizens. I have never heard any politician.
Oh, your audio quality is.
Let me finish.
Your audio quality. Your audio quality is.
Your audio.
Oh, how's that? Is it a little better?
No.
Don't know what to do.
Okay, but keep going. Maybe it get
So
better.
what I was saying is I've never heard any of our politicians quote any great person, of Liberian origin. It's not because the Liberians haven't said great things and don't have great visions, because they don't know, and that is unfortunate. We have so much to build upon. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to study it and know how to use it. And people keep talking about, we need to go decentralized. We need to do this. There's already plans have already been made. We just refuse to study what needs to be done. You cannot just go and run for office and you have no clue about your responsibilities. You don't know your terms of reference. You just jump up, a minister. What's your job? And it's not unique to the Weah administration. It's just exacerbated now. It's been a problem for quite some time, you know, and there's no orientation process. You get the job. Nobody goes through a ethics course. Nobody goes through, here's your terms of reference. Here's what you can do. Here's what you can't do. Here's your purpose. What kind of job at that level you take, and there's no orientation to even tell you what you need to do. And then we have a government that requires foreigners, Scots Fellows, students, master's degree, just fresh out of school kids in their 20s to come sit down and be telling 50, 60-year-old men how to do their job in Liberia. That's never happened before. These people y'all cussing from the 19th century, earlier 20th century. The Tubman y'all cussing, he never subjected, he respected himself. Y'all cuss him all y'all want, the man respected himself.
Thank you.
And one last thing, I'm trying not to get off my soapbox. Sanctions from foreign countries are not tools for democracy. Democracy means rule by the people. It means the citizens control the government. The citizens who pay taxes to the government are ones that control the government. You want citizens of a foreign country who elected their representatives to work on their behalf to control your government. It's stupid. It's stupid. Putting sanctions against Prince Johnson, the people in Nimba County don't give two flying frogs about that. Because they're the ones who elected Prince Johnson. Refusing to put Samokai in office after he won an election should be the concern of the country. Disenfranchising, you know, a huge populated county. The government does not fear its citizens. That means democracy is broken.
God, thank you. So at this time, we will try to wrap up the show. It's been a fascinating discussion.
I think you got somebody on the line.
Really?
Yeah.
I think we got to do Tabata and go. It's 9 o'clock.
Oh, okay, okay.
Dennis, if someone is on the line, please.
I think we got to do Tabata and go.
Hello?
Caller on the line. There's a caller?
Hello?
Yes.
Go ahead. Your name, where you calling from?
What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, is it me?
Yes, go ahead. Your name and where you calling from?
Norris Johnson. I was calling to make a couple of comments. I think I really enjoyed the show. But one line that Mr. Gayman usually uses that is kind of interesting. He always says that Liberians, you don't need to wait for the president to invite you to come to Liberia, which is great. But come on, you can do that. There are a lot of things that the government can do to encourage Liberians to go back. One, being selective justice system, the enforcer is not working for the country. I can give you an example of it. There's a 3 girls that got raped. Nobody spoke about that. The 7 girls got raped on the compounds of the Liberian embassy near the capital city of Nigeria, somewhere like that. Nobody spoke about that. 3 persons died last year, and 2 of them including the children of our previous presidents. The Solicitor General is saying that he doesn't have enough information, or he waited on the police to prosecute those cases. But when it comes to political oppositions, he leaves the Supreme Court and comes down way to a city court to prosecute it. Come on, what interest is that? What are you really trying to tell us? Now, the next thing is that we want to go back. Nobody wants to go and work for the government, but make the process safe. We want to be comfortable. We want to be secure back home. But if I see all of these ritualistic killing are going on and things that are obvious, we don't see the advocacy. Children are being killed. We don't see the advocacy. A child got glued for the sake of a record. I'm not going to explain everything. I've never heard the justice minister or general minister to come up with a definite statement or condemn that act. Yet, we see that when somebody said a woman was, even though I would have written my word in a different way, was super in bed or how she got selected, I think the anger should not be towards the first lady. It's how, if it is alleged, if he did that, it is how he denigrated our Liberian ladies. That's where the anger should be at. Because he said how they bad, the weak, all these things. But again, it's just an allegation. Now, the only one who can be convinced if the president please come and say, publicly address the nation, say, these are not my statements. These are not my words. This is not my position. I've never said that about my wife in any way from my shit.
Thank you.
But he's silent. Silent me concerned. If he doesn't want us to have that belief, then he come out and speak to the public. That's what you do. It's right, wherever you got that information from, that is a false allegation. That is lying. Blatant lying. The agriculture minister is doing perfectly great, but because she's also she's not part of the CDC organization, they are doing everything to keep her out. That is a pure definition of selective justice system.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Do you have any more callers on the line?
That's it.
All right. So at this point, we'll go to our final segment. Our final statements and closing comments, and then the Tabata session, of course.
It's too late, baby, go to bed. I don't need your Tabata. Baby, oh, your Tabata. I'm gonna go away, your Tabata. My baby, oh, I don't need.
Let me go first on this Tabata thing. I'm not a superstitious person, and I don't believe in the conspiracy theory thing because I don't believe in Bigfoot. But something is going on in Liberia that really tempts me to become a conspiracy theory for a day. To have the opposition, I'm talking about good people, deliberately suing each other and creating this storm, this like kicking up sand. I am beginning to believe that these guys might be paid actors. I just can't believe that credible men and women, they are not poor, they don't need, they're not lacking like you and myself to be doing what they are doing. And they know people are laughing at them to become a livestock and the laughing stock of the country, and they're just running in circle every morning. I think it's the biggest tabata that I see in Liberian politics in my lifetime.
Carl, what do you have?
Oh my God, there's just so much tabata. I think for me, the most disturbing thing I saw was Akara's Gray standing up on the House floor, threatening to physically attack Yekeh for something that is legal. It's offensive, but it's legal. So it's Yekeh's right to do. And saying he's going to attack him and beat him, which isn't legal to say that you're going to beat someone. I think that was for me, just one of the greatest lows to see representatives with such sycophantic behavior from elected officials that should be conducting themselves with some level of independence, even if you're a member of the party. There's a way you can express this to Yekeh without threatening to beat him. I thought that was embarrassing. I mean, our children are watching. And we didn't talk about that. We talked about Yekeh standing in his house or in his office. I don't know where that was, not on the House floor, with his theatrics. And then you've got Akara's Gray carrying the disrespect to the floor of the House of Representatives, and threatening violence, not mocking and being childish, but actually threatening violence and being supported by Foco and all these other, people who don't know how to conduct themselves, with the dignity of the offices that they hold. And
can I correct you real quick?
We have 1
minute. The funny part
the last day in our life, the last day, that will be. I tell you, we agree. The last 40 years, that the president
And look,
You see Foco in the background there with a white shirt
yeah,
talking
real quick.
the same thing.
The fabulous, the funny power, I think those of us who grew up in the interior, we know when people want to fight, they say, I'm going to beat you or I'm going to fight you. He said, he can't tell Yekeh, I'm going to beat you. He said, we're going to beat you. He didn't say, I'm going to beat you. He said, we're going to beat you. So I'm saying, what kind of fight, what kind of man is this? What kind of warrior is this? You're standing before another man. You can't tell him that you're going to beat him if you really wanted to fight, but you say, I'm going to bring my crew. We're going to jump.
Well, it's because if you notice in the background, Foco was saying the same thing. So he and Foco, there's two representatives that were threatening Yekeh simultaneously.
I know.
I'm focused on Akaris Gray because he's been a two-term representative. He's been there. Foco is somebody I'm not even familiar with. He seems like he's just, trying to follow somebody. But the two of them standing up and threatening him. So when they said we, they meant the two of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And I guess they want two of them jump on him. But
right. One man cannot stand in front of another man. Say,
Yekeh brought his war horn on the Senate, on the House floor today. So
this is shameful, right? This is really, really shameful. One, they're putting Yekeh, ushering him out, for being underdressed. But what Akaris Gray is wearing, for me, it doesn't cut it for me. I don't know about everybody else.
The yellow suit.
It doesn't cut it. I mean, not the matter of yellow suit. I mean, like, what is he wearing? What is that sign? What is he wearing? I mean, I think he's on sneakers.
Yeah. When I was in Liberia, women were not even allowed to wear pants and enter the Capitol building.
Yeah.
Until after Hillary Clinton came and wore pants in the Capitol building. And I used to intentionally wear pantsuits and walk in there. They will fight me. Literally, somebody tried to drag me out for wearing a pantsuit, a professional pantsuit. Now they're wearing sneakers.
Yes.
They come in and cut. I mean, come on.
That's a representative. That's an honorable who's wearing sneakers. And the thing is, and when I talk about this, some people get offended. But the natives are in power now. Mr. Gaiman, your party, your CDC people, they're in power now. So this is no longer, every time they say, hey, we want our country back and all of this. So you got your country, and this is how you're treating your own country. You're on the floor trying to threaten to beat and assault another person, which is violence. There should be a hearing for this kind of thing. This is inexcusable. This is wrong. It is wrong. So my tabata of the week, I think I mentioned it, in our chat, one of our chat, I mentioned it. It's just arresting Ava and saying that, bringing him to Monrovia, and, you had a press conference, the immigration boss had a press conference to say, well, we didn't arrest you, you're free to go. I mean, what's the point? So you just wasted people's time. You wasted resources, just wasted time. That is so unnecessary. So that's my tabata of the week. And that speaks to the inefficiency of this government. So now we'll go around the room. I'll start with Cole for any final thoughts.
Who did you want? Oh, you said you'll start with me. Sorry.
Yes.
I guess my final thought is that it's important for people to inform themselves, arm themselves with information. I've noticed a lot of us, we have a culture of just repeating and parroting things we've heard. We don't actually study things for ourselves. And part of the responsibility, the first responsibility of a political or social activist is be informed. You have to be educated. And education in the sense of obtain actual information. This is the cell phone that you're holding in your hand is a library. You can download books. You can study on your phone. Just because you're in Liberia or utilize the tools that are at your disposal, not only to enlighten yourself, but to better yourself. This whole thing, when somebody says something, that people just repeating jargon that doesn't make sense. I made a comment about Tubman. And I see I'm reading the comments, people going back and forth, arguing. Somebody said Tubman did this, other people cussing Tubman. Everything that Tubman did is documented, and it's not something that you have to pretend to know. Actually go find out. You might be you might learn something. Coming just the idea of condemning everything that occurred before today is the product of ignorance and also intentional anti-Liberian propaganda that was fed to us during the Cold War that led to the coup, that led to a civil war. We have to understand that there was a whole weaponized information attack against us because at some point we dared to stand up and be sovereign. There's a constant attack on this country and its sovereignty. And until you guys, citizens of the country, until we all start to understand what our responsibility is to the country, we're going to fail. We're going to fail. No one is perfect. But we've had a lot of great accomplishments in spite of all of the things that were put against us. The entire free world fought Liberia, and Liberia still exists. This is a miracle. This generation is nothing compared to those that came before it. We have to step up to the plate and pick up the torch and carry the country to the next level.
Thank you. Jerome?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mrs. Famula and Mr. Sharif, for giving me the opportunity to share the platform with you. I agree with her. I think the foundations that, first, the struggle that these people went through, they endure from here to get to Liberia, and our natives that were there to form that, or not perfect, but to form that union to have us to where we are, is worth celebrating. Mrs. Famula talked about when was the last time we quoted any of our intellectuals. To be very frank with you, I have never heard them quote anybody, because that's not a society that we have there. We all due respect to these guys. Now, real quick, 2003, when I was in Liberia, right after the war, I met with Jack Klein, and we were talking about the future of Liberia. And he told me, he said, do you know what 15 years of not educating people is? Do you know what it means? He said, if Liberia doesn't get this right, we will be back here in 30 years. So basically what he was saying is that gap, those people, those kids that were born 1989, 1990, they are now basically our leaders. So this is practically educationally lost generation, folks who are basically guessing our classical education. They cannot quote those that you and I could quote. They can hardly quote themselves. So they all rely on talking point. And I think some of us will, comically will say nothing has ever happened since 1822 or since 1847. And disappointingly, the young folk pick it up and they all run with that. But yes, we have great men and women that have made contribution to this society. And we have to bring that back. But I'm not trying to write off that generation, but that group from 1989 to where we are, they are now our leaders. Somebody told me, he said, Mr. Gaiman, I bet you, one of the young guys said, I bet you cannot beat anybody in Grand Bassa County with all your book. That's what he told me. You don't belong here. You don't fit anymore. And as much as I felt disappointed, there's some truth to that, because there are people in Liberia who are pushing the anti-education thing. When you go down, they don't come from America again. They know all their book. They come here to do this. And it's working because they talk like them. Everybody wants somebody who looks, talks, and walks like them. So, Mrs. Famula, we have our work cut out.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we can just throw in the towel. We're going to work around the edges, and hopefully something is going to happen. But as it stands, that generation that we are dealing with, that's why we have been bequeathed.
Thank you. I was wrong on one thing. I was thinking, I know you are a big CDC George Weah supporter, but you are a fair George Weah supporter. And from this day forward, I give you that credit. You being on this show and some of the things that you express on this show today really make me changed my view slightly about your position. So thank you for maybe disappointing me, but it's a great thing. It's great that you disappointed me. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, you know, my final word, I would say that, you know, there's leadership deficit in the country. Uh, you know, this is not it. You know, it's not it. It's the reason why Yekeh Koloba, there's a reason why he's celebrated. The things that he says are, you know, sometimes tend to be offensive. Yes, I get it. He's making mockery of the president. I get it. Um, but there is a reason why people like to hear what he says. And I think the leadership, especially the president, put himself in that position. Some of the things that he does gave people like Yekeh Koloba the opportunity to say what he says, and people like to hear it. And so that's all I can say about that. Now, all the rest of the other things, I don't agree with. But there is something there is something he is saying. And I think that we can't just dismiss everything. The president is trying to seek attention. He's an attention seeker. He's forgotten that he has a government to run, and he's all over the place trying to get all these awards. So let's not pretend that these things are not happening. They're happening. And the fact that Yekeh Koloba is the only one so far that's talking about these things in Liberia, to me, I don't know if it should be celebrated, but certainly worth listening to. So that's all I can say for now. Until we meet again next Thursday, I want to thank you all. Thank you, Paul, for always presenting fascinating analysis to our viewers. Mr. Gaiman, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your contribution. We want to thank our viewers. We are all Liberians, as we usually end our show, whether you are a member of the CDC, whether you are in the opposition, or whether you're just independent, whether you live in the Southeast, the North, the West, we are all Liberians. Liberia is the only country that we have. With that, I want to say so long for now.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people.